All right, we are live. Hello and welcome to the Lyon Show. I'm your host, your favorite business coach, Robert Lyon. Today we have the great pleasure of talking to Eli Facenda. He's a founder of Freedom Travel Systems. He's just a well-traveled guy. He's done all kinds of really cool stuff, been all over the world, and I'm just super excited to have him on the show today. So Eli, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of tell everybody who you are and what you're up to?
Yeah, appreciate it, Robert. Well, thanks for having me on the show. I'm really excited to get to chat with you about this. It's going to be a great session that we have here, and really excited to hopefully bring some value to you and your audience throughout this as well. And so just a quick background on myself. So as you mentioned, I've been traveling the world for quite a little while here. And over the last 7 years, really, I've been a partner in building an international sports tour company where we focus on taking youth sports teams on tours all over the world. And through building that experience, or through building that company, that's how I got into this whole idea of using really points for tons of free luxury travel. Now, for me, initially, it started like most business owners looking to try and save a few bucks on our costs, so we could just not have that type of travel eat into our profit margin. And it really piqued my interest. And then a couple of years later, I basically learned the whole system of how points and miles work and credit, and being able to really use those powerfully to get tons of free luxury travel experiences. So that's what I really focus on now as well, is helping other entrepreneurs do the same exact thing. You don't have to run a tour company to get tons of free travel. It really just comes down to implementing a few key strategies into the way that you operate your business and your personal life with credit to really maximize it, so you can get, again, free trips all over the world, first class flights, luxury hotels, and all sorts of amazing experiences that you might not normally have, or you may never really consider enjoying until later, or wherever that may be for the business owner. So that's what I focus on now. And yeah, I love travel, love sharing this opportunity with other individuals, and especially entrepreneurs, just because I know as an entrepreneur, typically we're all interested in that idea of freedom. And that's a big thing that draws us in. And to me, being able to travel is a lot about just experiencing freedom and going out and having new amazing experiences, meeting new people, and learning a lot along the way.
Yeah, I love the Freedom Travel Systems. It's just a, a cool name. So
Cool.
was the sports tour company, was that your company, or you just kind of worked with them and you traveled a lot, or how did that kind of become to be?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I'll give you kind of the short story here, but essentially, I played baseball, grew up in Northern Virginia, and in high school, I actually got invited to go to the Dominican Republic.
Nice.
Now, I had never left the country. I've been to England when I was like 4 or something, but this was really my first overseas trip, and it was my high school coach that invited me. And it was this eye-opening, unbelievable experience. I'm like 16, 17, never really experienced culture. And I'm playing left field, and I'm in this like local village, and there's a chicken on the field running across in front of me in the middle of the game. There's a guy on a moped in the center field. And so it's like this wild experience. And that actually is what kind of bit me with the travel bug. But I was a player then. And that same coach, he's now my business partner. He actually started the tour company several years later. And so he is, the founder of the company. And later on, I was studying abroad in Spain after he'd started the company. And he was like, hey, we need some help doing this. And so I started to help him out when I was in college, and then basically joined the company right out of school. And that was, again, 7 years ago. So we've been building it the last few years, and really enjoy taking families and athletes on these trips, showing them the world, giving them amazing kind of world-class experiences. And getting to see other people just experience a new culture for the first time is like such a fun gift to give. So being on these trips is a ton of fun. And we can't wait to get back to traveling more after COVID. I know we've all been kind of locked down. So
Yeah, that's the truth. I'm pretty sure everybody's going to freak out as soon as they can travel. So
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, tell me some of the secret sauce, man. How do you get to travel and go to these luxury places? Like, I want to know.
Yeah. So I can break it down for you in the kind of steps that I like to lay it out. And it keeps things a little more simple, because like anything, there's a lot of nuance, there's a lot of detail to it, but I can kind of provide the high level framework. And then from there, we can dive into different segments as we kind of want to. But essentially, let's just start with how the credit system works, and kind of why it's set up the way that it's set up, and why the opportunity for travel even exists. So if we start there, we can look at it and recognize the way that banks and credit card companies stay in business is by lending, right? Banks have to lend money through loans, lines of credit, credit cards, different financing products that they have to individual consumers. Now, they also recognize that most people aren't going to switch credit cards. They're not going to change banks. They're pretty much going to stick with one company for the duration of their lifetime. And they basically make money on couple different things. There's like interest or fees or whatever you may have depending on the product. Or on credit cards, they make something called interchange, where every time you swipe, they get a little tiny piece of the transaction. So I lay this all out to say, basically, they know that as a customer, the earlier they get you on, you're very valuable over that lifetime for them. So what do they do to incentivize you? They give you reward points. Okay, a lot of times those come in the form of reward points for opening new cards or for spending with them, because they know they're making that money back every time you swipe. Now, specifically, business owners are really high value for them because they spend more. They have multiple businesses, they may need other financing products. So they're willing to give even more value up front to get high spend business owners, which is why it becomes even more powerful as a business owner. So that's kind of the framework of the whole credit system and why it's set up the way that it's set up. And then if you start to look at kind of how you can take advantage of it, the way that I break it down is there's kind of 5 key steps. You've got to really understand and optimize how credit works so that you can just know what you're getting into. Number one, you should be smart with your finances anyways, but you really need to know how the game works, because otherwise people start to apply for stuff and they get denied and they don't know why, and then it hurts their credit. And so you really want to do this the right way, where you're building good, strong credit over time. And that's foundation number one. Number two on the travel side is you want to make sure you're earning the right points. Okay, so an example here is going to be a lot of people that see these different credit card promotions. I'm sure you've seen a bunch, right? Where it's like, hey, 100,000 points here, 50,000 there.
Yeah.
Right. And it can be confusing as to like what's what. And so what a lot of people don't realize is that not all points are created equal. So they'll see something, it'll be 150,000 points on this card or 100 on this one, and they'll go for the higher number, not recognizing that those currencies are not the same. And the lower, the 100,000 point offer may be way more valuable anyways. Okay, so we got step one, optimize your credit. Step two is get the right points. Step three is going to be maximize how much you're earning. So that's going to come from bonuses and aligning your spend. Okay, and then the fourth step is the real juice of it all, and that's redeeming the points for really good value. So there's different ways to use points too, where most people don't really recognize that you have a lot of options and you can get good value from using them in different ways. And so most people leave a lot of money on the table there if they are already using points. And that's where the real secret sauce comes in, where you get a flight that might be this luxury first class flight on like an exotic international airline going from the US to Europe, and it's like lay flat seat, and you get champagne, you get the amazing lounge experience, the whole thing, and it's like $8,000 and you pay 12. Like that's where that part comes in. And then the last step I always put in here is just having a system and a process so that this doesn't become chaotic and become a part-time job. Because especially if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, you're not looking to add another task to your list of things to do. You're looking to just simplify things. And so that's really an important piece too, if you want to optimize this for a lot of leverage. So that's a lot of information and kind of the high level framework, but I want to provide you and the people listening to this like actual tactical ways that they could start to think about, how do I implement this in my life to get your results?
Well, let me live a little vicariously through you, man. Tell me some sweet places you've been, or some awesome like deals you've gotten or something.
Yeah, I'll fill you in a little bit. So I love using points in a couple of different scenarios. So there's a couple of ways that like there's the luxury travel is awesome. And then there's also like the ability to just have that last minute kind of impulsive side of you that might say like, you know what? If you don't have to worry about the cash costs, you can start to ask yourself different questions like, where do I want to go tomorrow in business class? If you have enough points, you could be like, assuming there's not a pandemic, there's not restrictions, you'd be like, I want to go to Japan tomorrow and I want to fly first class, and you could do it. You could literally do that and not have to worry about like this costs $8,000. So I was actually in Japan in 2019. And I had to go to Copenhagen because I was running an event for my tour company, and I had to book a last minute ticket. I was leaving one group of people with like 80 people in Japan to then go run an event with 100 people. So I wanted to be well rested, and I was like, I want to fly business first class. And I was like 2 days out from the flight because I was rechanging everything, and the ticket was going to be like $8,500. And just to be able to go on and spend 10 minutes booking it and get the same thing for like, I think it was like $36 I ended up paying, was just like unbelievable. I mean, it was just such a cool feeling to be like, holy crap, I'm saving so much money and I'm getting to fly first class, where it's like the whole Lufthansa thing, really nice German airline where they've got like the, nice German beers and the whole alcohol service, and you're on the upper deck in the plane, and showing up in Copenhagen for the next event feeling refreshed was pretty cool. So that was a great one. I flew to Tokyo on that trip on first class from Dallas all the way to Tokyo. So that's like a 13-hour flight. And to get that, in a really comfortable seat was super nice. Lots of, upgrades to suites and stuff like that just along the way. So there's a lot of awesome experiences out there, but there's kind of two categories that it falls into. I call it like practical luxury, and then there's like bucket list dream luxury. And so I don't really do too much of that stuff. There's like some airlines that do like showers in the sky, like Emirates has like a first class thing where there's a whole bar and you're getting like $2,000 bottles of champagne and there's a shower, and you could do that. But like, to me, I don't really focus on that just because it's a little harder to get and it's not like practical. I like stuff where it's like, hey, I want to take this trip anyways, and I just want to do it way better. That's personally what I like. So
I'm freaking out. So you went from Japan to Copenhagen for $36? Like that's
yeah.
So far. That's like halfway around the world. Dude.
I know. It's crazy, man.
Epic. It's so crazy.
It's so crazy. Yeah. And the craziest part is when that becomes like normal. And
Oh
like, you're
no.
just sitting there, you're on the plane, you're like, oh yeah, this is just, and then you're like, dude, like smack yourself. Like, this is crazy. So that ends up being one of the fun parts about it too.
Yeah, that's so sweet. So you said that you do these tours. Are these the sports tours, or are these more for the Freedom Travel Systems where you go and teach people this stuff?
Yeah, so two separate things. Two separate things.
Ah,
So the sports tours are all based on youth sports teams going to foreign countries to compete in international events. So it may be like when I was in Japan, we had a baseball team that was there for 2 weeks. We packaged an entire experience, and then like the group in Copenhagen in Sweden was ice hockey. But the Freedom Travel Systems is more coaching. It's basically a full program where you get a lot of information, guidance on this stuff, and then I coach people through how to actually leverage it.
yeah,
And so there's a little bit of handholding there too.
that's pretty awesome. So I mean, I have quite a few businesses. I got like LLCs and stuff, but I've never really
Yeah.
gotten too crazy into the business credit. I've kind of just made it like I make money with the business. I haven't really
Mm-hmm.
like gotten a bunch of credit cards or anything like that for the business. So what is the first steps like to working on your business credit, or is it all your credit? Like, I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I'm glad you asked that because this confuses a lot of people. So there is a thing called business credit. Now, what business credit is, let's just break it out. So there's your personal credit, which is basically associated to an entity in the eyes of the IRS, which is you as an individual. So you have a social security number. So you apply for a credit card, it's under that. Now, if you have a business, you get a separate identification number. You get an EIN, employer
Right.
identification number. And when you get business credit, whether it's a credit card, a loan, or whatever, it's going under that entity. But when you're getting approvals, when you're a small business, like less than usually like around 20 million in revenue, you're still going to get like the decision for that approval is still like very, very, very heavily based on your personal credit score. So even though it's under the business, like as an entity, and it doesn't report to your personal credit, the approval is still based off of like what your personal credit profile and score look like. Okay. So that's the key there. That's why you really want to protect that personal score and make sure it's really strong, because otherwise, when you go to apply for a business loan, your business might be doing $8 million. But if you have a terrible personal credit score, you're still gonna have a really hard time getting approvals. So that is one of the key foundations. And now there is a business credit score as well, and that will help get approvals. It'll help you get higher lines, better rates and stuff like that. But it's by no means required to get business credit to have like an optimized business credit score. And it's a whole different ballgame. It's something that people do, but it's more of a long-term play. It's not something you need to get your first business credit card or anything like that.
Yeah. So when you're doing like your coaching though, are you usually teaching them just how to fix their credit, how to get the good credit cards and how to get the deals on their personal credit, or just like whatever they have?
Yeah. We look at both sides. So it just depends
Cool.
on the outcome. Like some people I help are really interested only in travel, and some are really in business credit, and some want both. And so we create a custom strategy based on that. But it all starts with optimizing your personal credit profile so that whichever side you're applying for, you're going to increase the odds of approval and just get the better fit for you, the better you're getting access to the better cards. Because like the higher level luxury travel cards and the better business credit cards require higher scores. So you want to make sure you're in that zone before you start applying. And then we'll basically look at, based on the type of travel you want to do, or based on the type of funding you're trying to get for your business. Like some people want $50,000 of 0% interest business credit that they can invest into real estate flips or e-commerce stores or whatever it may be, or just running ads. And it's like, if they have that fund, that funding, they can speed things up. So from there, we'll put together a custom strategy and say, these are the right cards. And then on the travel side, like when you want to actually use those points and like get some of the benefits like status and free flights and all that stuff, we go through in detail, like how to actually leverage those too. But yeah, you nailed it with the first steps. It starts there.
Yeah. That's such a cool like business, man. You're killing it. That's so sick.
It's fun. It's fun. It's confusing though. I mean, we're not taught this stuff in school. I think you've probably had a similar experience. A lot of stuff in entrepreneurship. I mean, I've been doing entrepreneurship for the last 7 years in some form, and it's like everything you need to learn is like not really taught in school. And this is one of those areas where it's a huge tool and a huge opportunity for entrepreneurs, but like we don't learn about it, and a lot of the beliefs we have growing up are just like not really accurate or not useful when it comes to trying to use this strategically.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's freaking cool. So how do you like help people repair their credit too, or do you just help them like figure it out how they can start getting better credit so they can get more of these cards?
Yeah, it's another really good question. So I will help people, I coach them through improving their credit, but there's kind of two sides to making your score move. There's credit repair, which is removing negative items off your report. So those are, what we call derogatory marks. So that's late payments, that's collections accounts, charge-offs, bankruptcies, all that stuff. I don't do that. I'll help point people the right direction if they want to fix it themselves. But there's also basically credit improvement, which is adding good things onto your report. So good history, good like improving your utilization. And I definitely coach people how to optimize that so they can get their score to increase, because a lot of times some people are just really small tweaks away from making big jumps.
Yeah.
But there's two sides. So if you are looking at credit repair, for anyone listening to this, there's a lot of good companies that will do this for you. There's a lot of companies also out there that can be on the shadier side. So you just want to know who you're working with. But anything that company is doing, you can do yourself. It's just a matter of you taking the time to actually do it. So credit repair as a service can be super valuable, but it's also something you can learn and have as a skill set yourself if you want to go down that road. It just depends on where you value putting your time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I know all credit cards are not created equal. I mean, do you have any do you specifically go after like certain airlines that are connected to credit cards and certain hotel lines or stuff like that? Or how do you look at it?
Yeah. So we're talking about mostly for the travel side, right?
Yeah. For like, if somebody wants to travel, start getting points and things like that, like how can they find like the best card possible? Or if they have like a specific hotel chain they want to stay in, should they look for that, or how do you do it?
Yeah, really, really good question. So, and that's the most common question. So it is slightly custom. So, but I want to give people a framework to think about it and give a couple of suggestions. So first of all, there's like different types of currencies. There's basically what we call transferable currencies, which are points that you can earn and then turn them into other airline or hotel program points. So those are the most valuable to earn for sure. And where a lot of people go wrong is they go right to an airline or right to a hotel and they start using that credit card. But what they don't realize is like, if you get an American card and the flight that you want is operated by United, like then you can't use those points. So there's no real value in that. So what you want to do is you want to get transferable points, like Chase, Citi, and American Express are really the top three. I always say Chase and Amex are the top two for sure, because what you can do is transfer those into airlines. So like United is a Chase partner. So if you find a flight on United, you can earn Chase points and then turn them into United miles. But at the same time, so is British Airways. So if you found a better British Airways flight, you could turn them into British Airways miles and have flexibility. They also have like a booking portal on those three will have booking portals where you can just go in. It's kind of like Expedia style, where like you'll see all these different options and you can book right through there. So those are the ones that I would definitely suggest starting with. But another thing you should look at as well is like that sign up bonus is a big piece of it, because usually they're going to say, hey, you have to spend usually anywhere from like $1,000 up to $15,000, depending on the card, in the first 3 months or sometimes 6 months to get 70,000, 80,000, 100,000, whatever it may be, bonus points. So you need to know how much you're spending in your business or in your personal life and kind of create the strategy around that too. So like you do spend a lot, then it makes sense to go for the card that's going to get you the most points up front. And focusing on Chase or Amex is really a good way to start. And I always just suggest earn a lot of points in one or maybe two programs first. Don't get like, 30,000 in Chase and 40,000 in Amex and 20,000 in Capital One. Like you're spread out and it gets harder to use. Just focus on getting, a bunch of points in one program and start there. And then as you want to start to get into more, then start to spread out and diversify a little bit.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. So just one more time, like walk me through how the coaching would go and like the system. So
yeah. So let's say we were working together. What I would do is I'd sit down with you and say, hey, what are the goals? Obviously, we got to get clear on like what you're trying to do. Are you trying to scale your business? Are you trying to get free travel? Are you trying to do both? And then from there, we'll say, okay, I'm going to basically teach you everything you need to know about what your credit score needs to be and what your credit profile needs to look like. There's two sides. There's like, how many inquiries have you recently had? What is your utilization at? All of these things become important when you're starting to do like specific applications. So we optimize that first. And then we would say, okay, based on that, let's get you these, and these cards, or however many it may be, or what order. And we'll basically go through that process of applying, because there's a certain sequence that you often want to go through if you're starting to do more applications. So we get you those cards, we get you the points, and then I'll teach you how to use them effectively. So if you say, hey, I really want to take a trip for me and my spouse over to Europe. We want to fly first class. We want to go next year. We want to do 5 nights in a luxury hotel. Like, what are some places we could go? I would give you some insights, tips, and ideas on how to do that, and then actually help you go through the process of making that happen. So you could total up and say, okay, this trip would only cost $10,000, and I'm getting it all on points right now. So that's kind of the travel piece.
That's so cool, man. You got me pumped. I'm gonna go look at all my credit cards and fix all my credit and get it done.
There you go, man. There you go. Now, there's one thing I want to point out to people, because I know if someone's listening to this, they're probably thinking like, well, you said cards, like, do you mean multiple cards? Like, how is that going to work? So here's one of those kind of common misconceptions about credit that we're oftentimes taught. And it's just, again, important to look at, read this on your own, learn this stuff. But to have a perfect credit score, you actually have to have 21 or more accounts reporting to your personal credit. Okay, so most people are sitting there with 2 cards, 3 cards, and they're like, I don't want to open a 4th card. It's going to hurt my score. Like, I should close another one, right? No, that's not actually how it works. what you want to do is over time, you want to build a lot of different accounts, ensure that you've been a responsible customer. You've paid things back on time. You've paid things back to a variety of different lenders. That's really what the score is showing, is how trustworthy you are as a borrower. So you want to have more accounts over time because that just looks good to them. So if you have 4 accounts and you hear me say, hey, you need 21 accounts to have a perfect score, that doesn't mean apply for 15 tomorrow. That just means over time, you want to add more accounts to your report and your score actually goes up. So through this whole process of applying for more cards, getting more credit and all that stuff, your score should actually increase as you go if you do it correctly. If you're not educated on it, you don't know what you're doing, you just start applying for stuff at random, then yeah, you could definitely hurt your score slightly. But in almost all cases, if you do it well, your score is going to go up significantly.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. So I was in the military and I got stationed in Baumholder, Germany, and that was probably a lot of my traveling. But we'd get paid on like a Friday, and I had this little like stick shift car. It was called a Panda, and I would just drive, all around freaking Europe.
Love it.
Come back totally broke and hungover on Monday, and then do it again the next weekend.
Love it. Where is that exactly in Germany? Were you?
Baumholder, Germany. So it's like an hour from Frankfurt, and it's just kind of it was like an old
Stuttgart?
Yeah, it was like an old Nazi hospital base that America took over, and then that's where I was posted. Yeah, it was totally weird, but I was there for 2 years. It was one of the best times of my life, man. But
it's amazing.
Being able to travel and go to Europe has really changed like my perspective. So I kind of want to pick your brain. Like, how has it helped you, maybe as an entrepreneur, or just your perspective on life?
Yeah, man, I'm glad you asked that. And one cool thing on that also, that's what with the sports tours that we do. It's really cool to see where certain sports populate around the world. Just as an anecdote, like in Germany, for example, they have a lot of baseball by Air Force bases. And when you start to connect the history to like Americans coming over for World War II, and that's how Stuttgart ended up becoming like a place where they play. It's kind of cool just to have all that stuff tied together. But yeah, on the travel side, I mean, I think it's one of the most educational experiences anyone can have, just as a business owner or just as an individual. But like, it just really shifts your perspective. And for me, if you are someone that's kind of entrepreneurial, typically you're someone that's like, I kind of want to be my own boss. I want to live my own life. I want to create a lifestyle and have impact in a way that I want to. And to me, that's about having intention. And when I look at what travel really does for me, is it gives you perspective on everything, good, bad, and different. I'm not here to put labels on different types of government and different ways people live or anything like that, but you just get to see different things. And that helps you choose, because without seeing different stuff, you don't have a choice. You just know what's right in front of you, and that's it. So when you open your mind to like different cultures, different ways of living, you see what different societies are and how, they live day to day. Like it just shifts your perspective, and it allows you to choose a little bit more, like what you actually like, what you value. And it gives you the contrast you need to just live a more intentional life. So that's one of the things that I really love about it. Additionally, just that idea of perspective and appreciation. I mean, so many places, I know there's like so much stuff that people could complain about going on in the world right now and in the US, whether it's government, politics, pandemic, whatever, racial issues, people can find a reason to complain about stuff. But when you go to some of these other countries and you see what they're dealing with, like stuff gets put in perspective quick. And we realize like, hey, some of the problems we have in America, yes, they're big problems, but on a day-to-day, like overall, like things are pretty good. And I think getting out of your own environment and going to see other places and recognize like how lucky we are to have what we have, like just a huge sense of appreciation. So I'm really big on that. That's one of the things I love just for travel in general, and also for the youth side, for the tours that we've done, like getting to see kids that maybe live in a little bit of a bubble, kind of get that bubble burst and like a new culture is really fun. So yeah, that's really cool. Definitely a big one.
Do you speak any other languages?
A little bit of Spanish. Yeah, it depends. What about you? Do you speak any?
No, I lived in Germany for 3 years. I forgot all of it already.
Yeah. German stuff, man. So that's the thing with Spanish too. Like I speak enough Spanish to get by, but then I go to some countries and it's like I can't. I mean, the dialects are so different. The accents are
they talk way too fast.
Yeah, exactly. But I do always try to use I do try to use Spanish when traveling, like especially in Europe, because you can sometimes certain countries don't really like love that you just walk up to them and start speaking English, like like in France or sometimes Italy or Germany or something like that. They're like, they want you to at least try. So typically I'll like lead with Spanish because they're like, at least he's doing something, like, and I found that's like,
just you get out Spanish.
Yeah. Words. They're like, okay, well, this guy's not like the dumb American. He's not like some like Brit or something like that. Like so they, at least they're like, okay, we'll treat him a little bit better. So it's weird, but for some reason that works.
Yeah, man. I secretly want to go to China just because I think they're going to like run the world in a few years. So I want to get in there and become like an American ambassador or something. So maybe I'll have to hit you up for some coaching so I can get some free luxury trips to China.
There you go, man. Yeah, I have not been in China, but I've heard pretty cool things about just like just getting over there and the culture and like food wise, I mean, obviously that's a huge benefit of traveling too, is like getting to eat those crazy foods. But I don't know, in China, it's a different ballgame when you get over there and like what you're eating and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, definitely an adventure. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. um, so how has the COVID thing kind of shut down all the traveling, or can you still travel? I mean, since you're kind of in it, what's it been like?
Yeah. So for our tour company, it has been, difficult. We had to postpone a lot of stuff and all that, but that's just the nature of the industry right now. But it's coming back really strong. Like a lot of people are just itching to go travel and all that. So that's that side. Now on the travel rewards and really maximizing that, for me personally, as like an entrepreneur, as a business owner, it hasn't really impacted too much because this compounds and builds over time. So a lot of times people will say like, hey, I want to take a trip in December, and they come to me in like October being like, where can I go? And it's like, well, do you have points? And they're like, no. It's like, well, you should have started, 6 months ago building these points. So for that reason, it actually hasn't really impacted too much because people are always planning ahead and this stuff really builds really well. So it's definitely dampened quite a bit, but I think as the world starts to open back up, we're going to see like a mass surge of people that want to travel, and especially with kind of the changes in just like how the world's working, like so many more people are remote. So I was in Costa Rica in December for about a month, and the amount of people that are like working 9 to 5s remote or running their business online and just going down there like was really cool. And I've never seen that amount of people from that demographic traveling the way they were. So I think that's going to be a really big shift. And I think we're going to see a lot of travel in the next year to like 5 years. I think people are just going to be itching to go out and enjoy some experiences that we haven't had in the last like 9 months or so.
Yeah, start racking up them travel points.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's freaking awesome. Well, I'm all about the listener's success. Are there any other tips that you have for anything we've talked about, like travel or credit, that we might not have hit on?
Yeah. Well, so again, I would really encourage you to consider what this could do for you if you are someone that likes travel, and really just like start to get some foundational understanding of how it works. There's a lot of information out there, so you just want to start small. I would say that's super important. Let me know if you have questions. I'm happy to share any insights or tips, or you can follow me on social media. I share a lot of stuff on Instagram there, and it's just Eli Travel Guy. So you can follow me there if you want, and reach out if you have any questions. But one thing I do want to leave you guys with, this is like a no-brainer deal. It's actually a new program called Brex. And so it's basically a fintech company. They're not technically a bank, but they're a fintech company. And what they're trying to do is basically steal all these customers from other banks. So they have a crazy good promotion right now. And it's a program you can sign up for. And the reason it's super valuable is because they actually don't do a credit check, because it's not technically, what you're signing up for isn't technically a credit card. And basically you just have to have an LLC, S Corp, or C Corp. And the promotion gives you 80,000 points, but 80,000 points in their system can either turn into $800 cash back right away, or you can use it for travel and get, for me, 80,000 points of them is really worth like $3,000 to $4,000. And even if you have multiple businesses, you can get it for each business with no credit check, and they don't do an annual fee either. So if you do that, let's say you have 2 or 3 businesses, you could have 160,000 points or 240,000 points, which would literally be, you could ask for cash back and get that in cash and get anywhere from, again, $800 to $2,400, or use that for travel later on and probably get like $5,000 to $6,000 worth of travel. And it's super easy. So I would definitely encourage you to do that. There's a specific link you need to go through by a blogger called 1 Mile at a Time. If anyone reaches out, I can send that exact link or share it with you. But incredible promotion. Like, I've been in this game for a while, and you don't see stuff like that come around often. So I would definitely say, if you're a business owner, like, jump on that now. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'll try and find that link and put it in the show notes. So is it like one of those online banks, like Chime kind of thing, or?
It's kind of, technically they call it a cash management account. So it's more like a checking account is really what you're opening, and you're basically getting like a debit card from them, but it has some slight variations to it. So in the article, they explain it really well, but it's more like, think of it more like getting a debit card than a credit card.
That's cool. And since you kind of travel all over the place, have you found a bank that you like more than any other banks?
So that's a good question too. The way that you want to think about banking when it comes to credit card and points, you ideally you want to bank with banks that have the better credit card products. So Chase is a really good one for checking accounts, because when you have a relationship with them, even though it's a giant national bank, they're still somewhat relationship based. So like, they see that you've been in their system for a while, so it's easier to get cards with them or different financing products. So that's a good one. If you're traveling, there is a Schwab debit card account that waives ATM fees too. So that's a really good one as well. And that's one that a lot of people love. So those are 2 of them, but I don't do too much. I don't focus too much on like specific checking accounts just for travel side. It's more about like building the relationship.
Yeah, I'm with Wells Fargo and I'm sick of them. So I was just wondering.
Yeah, I have Wells Fargo too. Well, So I have a couple different checking accounts just because it helps build the relationships. But Wells Fargo doesn't have a ton of great travel rewards cards, so it's not like if you're looking to do this for points and free travel, it's not necessarily the best program.
Chase has sounded a little better. Do you have any
Yep.
just like systems to set up, or like a tip for like a system to set up to make sure you're paying all these different cards at the right time and making sure you're getting the best out of it? Or like, what does that would look like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I personally have like a tool that I've built myself and I share with my clients, like a dashboard that just brings everything into one place. There's a couple of different tools. Anything like Mint, there's a couple of different personal finance apps which connect to your bank accounts, and I'll show you when your credit card bills are due and all that stuff, and it aggregates all your information, which is good for tracking on that side. So Mint's a good one. But the biggest thing is definitely just set everything on auto bill. So when you go into your credit card account, you can click on your card, go to payment preferences, and then there's going to be a setting that's just called auto pay. And what you want to do there, this is at least how I do it, is I set it to pay the minimum balance at least like 2 to 3 days before the payment due date. And the reason I do that is in case there's any sort of weird time delay or something like that, I'm at least getting the minimum payment due. And that will minimally make sure that I don't ever have a late payment. So that's a huge thing. You never want to have late payments. So you can at least get that and then pay the balance after. Some people want to just set it to auto pay the entire balance. I like to personally see like how much I'm paying each month. So I'll do it manually, but at least set auto pay up so that, again, you're paying that minimum payment, because that will save you a lot. Like one late payment can really wreck your score and basically just make sure that you're going to get denied for, a year to 2 years of cards a lot of times. So it's really good just to take care of that and not have that issue.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, man. Well, it's been so good having you on. I got one more question for you, but before we go,
Sure.
Why don't you tell everybody like the best places to find you online and how to get in contact with you?
Sure. Yeah. So best place, honestly, is going to be Instagram. Just at Eli Travel Guy is where I'm probably most active in sharing this stuff and just engaging with people who have questions. Love to help people out. You can check out the site freedomtravelsystems.com. There's there's like a free training on there that you can check out, some of the top card recommendations and promotions that are currently going on. You can find links for those, but Instagram is definitely the best way to reach me and just shoot me a message. Facebook as well. You can shoot me a message there, but yeah, happy to answer any questions that you may have when you hear this.
Awesome, man. So yeah, the question that I'm asking all my guests is, what motivates you, or what is motivation?
Ooh. Yeah, well, what motivates me is just, there's two things for me. It's one is impact and two is freedom. So the impact is just, I love just providing value to someone and seeing them like learn something new or take away a new experience that they didn't realize they could have. I just love that sense of being able to like give that to someone. It's really fun. But the freedom side's big too. Being able to really have like time, location, and financial freedom. All three is kind of the trifecta. So I really focused on building both of those.
That's awesome.
And
man.
what is motivation? I mean, that's a good question too. But I almost have to like think more about a real answer to that one.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to like see what motivates all these awesome people that I get to talk to. So it's just fun.
Yeah.
And I love your freedom and impact. Those are perfect. So, well, I think that's it, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Any last thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, it's just I appreciate you having me on and providing a platform to share some of this stuff. It's one of those things where the last thing I actually would leave with is just one quote that I think was like a game changer for me a couple of years ago when I heard it, which was, I think it's like a Tony Robbins quote or something like that, but I heard it from another person. But it's just the ultimate resource is resourcefulness. So I just think that's super important, because I know the people listening to this are probably entrepreneurial, and a lot of people are like, oh, I can't do this because I don't have that, or like I can't do this. It's like, don't give yourself that excuse. Find a way to become more resourceful. Find a way to get strategic, whether it's using credit or whether there's other ways to do it, and just start asking better questions, and you'll always end up finding better answers if you do that. So credit is one of those really powerful resources, but there's so many out there in your toolkit. So I would just encourage people to continue to dig deeper on that, because ultimately, there's so much opportunity out there. We live in an amazing time if you want to build businesses and have a really cool experience in life. So that's the last thing I'd leave people with. And yeah, just want to say thanks to you again for having me on and providing an awesome platform.
No problem, man. Yeah, man, that's awesome. Well, thank you everybody for listening. I think we all learned something. We're all ready to go travel pretty soon, as soon as we can. So definitely probably be hitting up freedomtravelsystems.com. And if you got any value, please share this with a friend, like and subscribe. And other than that, have a great day. Bye, everybody.